This literally happened to me a week ago. I live alone, so obviously I'm home alone 90% of the time. I have friends and family that come over and stay the night sometimes, but other than that, most of the time I'm alone. I do get bored sometimes and a bit lonely, I guess, but I really do enjoy my space from the world. I suppose I am sort of an introvert, you could say. I love being in my apartment because I feel free and able to do what I like when I like. I was making myself dinner, spaghetti actually. It was around 11 p.m. My sleep schedule is all messed up because I work from home and I like to stay up late. So I usually eat my meals a little bit later than most people. A normal day for me, I go to sleep around 4 or 5 a.m. and I usually wake up just before noon. Like I said, it was around 11 p.m. While making dinner, I heard a knock, coming from what sounded like to be my neighbor's door. I didn't think much of it, but it did creep me out, and I forgot about it like seconds later. But then, I heard it again. This time it kind of sounded like it could have been my door. Just to be sure this time, I walked over and looked through my peephole. Just as I thought, there was no one there. After I ate dinner and relaxed on the couch for a bit to let my stomach settle, I decided to take a shower. Only a few minutes into my shower, I suddenly heard some loud noises in my apartment. I have 2 cats though, and they like to run around the house a lot being crazy. Sometimes they knock things down and get into things they are not supposed to. So I just brushed it off. I told myself that it was probably just my cats playing, a bit crazier than usual. As I was finishing up in the shower, I heard someone talking. My walls were paper thin, and sometimes I could hear my neighbors mumbling. But this time it was clear, and it sounded like someone was actually in my apartment. I turned the shower off, and I got dressed as quickly and quietly as possible while I was trying to listen. I couldn't make out what was being said. However, I came to the conclusion that there was definitely someone in my apartment. Oh no, I thought. I forgot to lock my sliding glass door. I have a bad habit of that, so I guarantee that's how someone got in. I live on the first floor, so anyone could have access to that sliding glass door. I waited for like 5 minutes in the bathroom. I waited for it to be completely silent, in hopes that whoever it was would be gone. I realized that I had to make a decision quick. Do I run to my room and try to grab my phone first, or to the kitchen for a knife to protect myself? You see, I'm a 5'3", 120-pound, 19-year-old girl, so I'm not sure how much of a fight I could put up versus your average grown man, especially without any sort of weapon. I decided I had to go to the kitchen and grab a knife, and that was definitely my best chance. So that's what I did. I quickly ran to the kitchen and grabbed a knife. I peeked my head around the corner into the living room and no one was there. But my sliding glass door was wide open. I ran to the door immediately and closed it and locked it, and closed the blinds as well. I looked all throughout my apartment to make sure there was no one hiding anywhere. I searched everywhere, multiple times even, and I didn't find a single soul. Nothing was stolen either, but that didn't make me feel much better. I called the police and told them I wanted to report a break-in. They didn't seem to care much because they only sent one officer out and he didn't really do anything to help at all, or to comfort me whatsoever. They had nothing on the intruder, so the officer didn't even try, and I guarantee you they were not looking into the case at all. After that, I called my mom, a few of my friends, and my sister, but no one answered. It was late, so everyone was probably sleeping. I lied awake in my bed all night, just praying that he wouldn't come back. I texted my sister saying emergency in all caps. She then called me and I told her everything. She said I could come over if I needed, but I was honestly too scared to even leave my apartment, in case he was out there waiting for me. I asked my sister if she would just stay on the phone with me for a while instead. Well, it turns out my intuition was right, because after I was done talking to my sister on the phone and I hung up, shortly after, I heard a light knocking sound on my sliding glass door. At this point it was like 2 a.m., so it was dead in the night. Nobody I knew would be awake, so I called the police again and told them what was going on. Luckily the police station is literally only a mile away from my apartment, so 2 officers arrived in a matter of minutes. They searched the area for a potential suspect but couldn't find anyone. They left, and yet again I had no answers. I stayed awake until the sun came out and called my sister and told her that I was coming over and that I really needed to get some shut-eye before I lost my mind. My father and I installed cameras the next day, all around the outside of my apartment and the inside as well. It's been weeks now and nothing else has happened that I'm aware of. My lease ends in about a month though, and I'll be moving out soon. I'm not sure what kind of crazy person would want to scare me like that, or what they might want from me. I also had not a single clue of who it could be, but it's left me terrified to be home alone now. Usually I stay at my sister's or a friend's house, but when I do stay home, usually someone is with me. I'm not sure if I will ever be able to let my guard down ever again when I'm home alone. It's sad because home is supposed to be somewhere you feel safe and where you are safe, but that's just not the case for me right now. Hopefully in the future when I move, I'll start feeling safe again. Last winter, when I was home alone at my grandparents' house sitting for them while they were on vacation for a few weeks, something terrifying happened. They go down south to Florida every year now that they are retired. The first year they went back in 2016, their house ended up getting broken into while they were gone. Whoever it was stole everything they could. I mean over $50,000 worth of stuff, like TVs, jewelry, expensive paintings, just everything that they thought they could take that would be valuable, I assume. They never found out who did it though, but now they have an alarm system set up in their house, along with a Ring camera and a locked gate at the end of their driveway, and for extra precaution, their whole property is also fenced off. My grandparents live in a really nice house. They definitely live in an upper class area, and a lot of their neighbors are legit millionaires. So I'm sure why you can see how that may attract the wrong people who might be looking to do a home invasion or something crazy like that. It's also very quiet where they live, especially at night. They have maybe 3 or 4 neighbors within a quarter-mile radius of their house, so people who are up to no good unfortunately can get away with a lot more, as there really isn't anyone on the lookout as much, since there isn't as many people around like there would be in the city. So that's why they have me house sit for them while they're gone. They pay me really well and let me do whatever I want. So really I look forward to this every year. I get the whole house to myself, so I can quite literally do whatever I want, like I said. They do have a few rules and I follow them for the most part, but not always. They have a bar downstairs and a huge TV. They also have a pool and a hot tub outside as well, and lots of other nice things to do. I also bring my hunting stuff because they have over 8 acres of property, and I'm a big hunter, so I bring my hunting stuff in case I decide to go out once or twice while I'm there. And having my rifle with me keeps me at peace, knowing I have protection in case someone were to try to break in again. A lot of nights I invite a friend or two over as well. That way I don't get as anxious about being alone. But this night I was alone. I don't remember what I was doing at that specific moment, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the security alarm started beeping. I'm pretty sure they have sensors when the front, the back, and the garage doors open, and it only sets off when one of the doors open, meaning that somebody was in the house right now. I called my mom first because, I don't know why, I just thought to call her first. As the phone was ringing, I realized I forgot, but I remembered that she was the only person I knew of that had a spare key to my grandparents' house. So when she picked up the phone, I immediately asked her if she was the one that opened the door. She said that she was sleeping, and I told her to stop messing with me. I think she thought at the time I was messing with her because she didn't take me seriously at all and hung up on me, and told me to go to sleep and to stop messing around. I walked outside of the bedroom and looked downstairs at the living room from the top of the staircase, and I saw a silhouette of what looked like to be a man's shadow hovering over the couch, and he kind of looked like he was searching for something. I called my mom back immediately and told her that I thought someone had broken into the house, and that I saw someone in the living room. I told her I was serious and that I was freaking out really bad. She then told me that it wasn't her or my dad, or anyone else that should have been there right now, and to get out of there immediately. I waited for the man to walk away, and I booked it down the stairs, out of the front door, and ran down the long dirt road about a quarter mile probably. I hid in a cornfield while I was on the phone with my mom, waiting for her to pick me up. My dad called the police and my parents made it to me in less than 15 minutes. I'm just happy that whoever it was that broke in didn't see me at least. I wasn't sure if they took anything or not, but when my grandparents got back, my grandpa said he was missing a watch, some shoes, and some other clothing items, I guess. I guess the intruder got cold feet or something and then took off before he could get anything that was really expensive. Or who knows what he had going on. I just worry for my grandparents because that is the second time that their house has been broken into now. One of the worst things about this whole situation is that my mom thought I was joking when I called her the first time, and I thought she was the one that was messing with me. My family and I grew up playing pranks on each other constantly, and sometimes we would take the pranks way too far. We learned to never make any dumb jokes or do any crazy pranks ever again after that because it's simply not worth it, especially knowing that things could have went a lot worse for me that night. The thought of what could have happened frequently keeps me awake at night. This took place a couple years ago. It was spring 2018, somewhere in the middle of April on a Saturday night. I used to go out every weekend with my friends to the bar, or we would go to one another's house. My point is, we would always be out partying somewhere, almost every weekend. This specific Saturday though, I stayed home, as I was really hungover from the night before. I never used to get hungover when I was younger, but it started to creep up on me the older I got. I actually don't drink anymore at all now. I mean, maybe once in a blue moon, but when I do, it's never more than 3 drinks, and I certainly don't get hangovers. I lived with my girlfriend at the time, but she worked third shift, so usually she would work from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., maybe 8 o'clock in the morning sometimes. She was working a lot of overtime back then, so that's why she was working the weekend. Her car had been broken down at the time as well, so for a few months I took her to work every day until she could get her car fixed. Well, after I dropped her off at work and I got home, the first thing I noticed was there was a car I didn't recognize in the driveway. And then I noticed that all the lights were off in my house. I always leave the porch light on at night, and I was certain that I left the living room light on as well before I left, because that's usually what I do. Keep in mind, this was like 12 in the morning, so it was very dark outside. I made the not so smart decision by walking up to the porch to see what was going on. I noticed the front door was cracked open as well. I peeked through the front window, but I couldn't see much. Then I saw what looked like to be a flashlight moving around in my house. I started getting very anxious, and I thought about running back to my car and calling the police. But something got a hold of me, and I completely ditched that idea and tried to handle it myself. I sat there quietly for a bit, just trying to listen. I heard footsteps coming from inside, but no talking. That's when I made the conscious decision to open the front door all the way, and as I opened it slowly, it started creaking. There was a man in my house wearing all black, with a really weird looking mask on. "Hey, get the hell out of my house," I said. I started cussing him out. He then charged me and tried hitting me multiple times, but he missed every punch. I grabbed his arm and turned him around and got behind him and put him in a full Nelson. As I had him in a chokehold, I was hoping to God that there wasn't anyone else in my house. I waited until I was sure that he was out cold to call the police. I searched my house quickly to make sure there wasn't anyone else in my house. Meanwhile, checking on the man multiple times that was passed out on my living room floor to make sure he hadn't woken up yet. I kept a close eye on him while I waited for the police to get there. I held him for over 10 minutes because I wanted to make sure that when he woke up, I'd be there before he tried to run or attack me again. This guy was much smaller than me, so it wasn't much of a problem for me to control him. When the police got there, they arrested him. He was charged with attempted armed robbery, aggravated assault, breaking and entering, and I think something else. Hopefully that taught him a lesson though, and hopefully he won't do anything like this ever again. He's in prison right now, rotting his life away over one incredibly dumb decision that never had to have happened in the first place. I'm glad he's in prison, and I hope he stays there for a long time. I don't feel bad for him whatsoever. I just hope that when he does get out, that he will be a changed man. I think about what could have happened to my girlfriend had she been there home alone when he broke in, and it eats me up inside because I would do anything to protect her.